Before cities, before kings, before written history, humanity wandered the earth in small tribes, following rivers and animals across vast open plains. There were no monuments, no laws, no memory carved into stone, only survival, fragile and uncertain. The world was wild, and humanity was small. Then, along two unpredictable rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates, something extraordinary happened. The land flooded, and when the waters receded, they left behind fertile soil. For the first time, humanity stopped wandering. They planted, they harvested, they stayed. Civilization had begun. By 3000 BCE, a city rose above the plains. Uruk. Massive mud brick walls surrounded tens of thousands of people. Markets buzzed, workshops clattered, smoke rose from ovens. At its center stood a towering ziggurat, a bridge between earth and sky. Humanity had built its first true city.
This one is ready.
Fresh bread, hot and ready. It looks strong.
How much for the jars?
2 copper coins.
But civilization was not just walls and temples. It was daily life. Potters shaping clay beneath shaded stalls, bakers pulling flatbread from open ovens, children running through narrow alleyways. The heartbeat of humanity now echoed through stone streets. For the first time, people lived not as tribes, but as citizens. The Sumerians were not merely settlers, they were inventors. They built irrigation canals to command the rivers. They harnessed the wheel to transport goods. They developed mathematics to measure land and trade. Order replaced chaos. Human intelligence began shaping the world itself. As cities expanded, memory was no longer enough. Around 3200 BCE, symbols were pressed into wet clay, cuneiform, the first writing system. For the first time in history, thoughts could outlive their creators. Civilization could now remember.
Approach with the sacred tablets. My lord, the laws are inscribed. Let them be known to all. As you command, so it shall be.
With growth came conflict, disputes over land, trade disagreements, broken agreements. So rulers did something revolutionary. They wrote the law. Justice was no longer decided by emotion. It was recorded, structured, permanent. Civilization now governed itself. From the top of their temples, Sumerian priests studied the stars. They tracked constellations, predicted eclipses, mapped planetary movements. The heavens were not random. They were messages. Humanity had begun to question the universe. Uruk did not exist in isolation. Boats carried grain and textiles downriver. Caravans crossed deserts. Trade networks connected distant lands. Mesopotamia became the beating heart of early civilization. Its influence spread far beyond its walls. Empires would rise, empires would fall. But the ideas born between these rivers would never disappear. Cities, writing, law, astronomy. From Mesopotamia, humanity stepped into history, and the world would never be the same. While Mesopotamia flourished between two rivers, another civilization rose along a single lifeline, the Nile. Each year, its waters flooded the land, leaving behind rich black soil. In a desert of endless sand, the Nile created life. Egypt did not fight its river. It depended on it.
Soldiers of Egypt, the gods have granted us this day. March with me, and together we will forge an empire that will echo through eternity.
Around 3100 BCE, a ruler known as Narmer united Upper and Lower Egypt. For the first time, the lands along the Nile were one kingdom. This was not just political power. It was divine authority. The pharaoh was no ordinary king. He was considered a living god.
Ready? Pull! Pulling now! Steady, keep it taut! It's rising, more force! It's set! Release!
Then came an ambition unlike anything the world had seen. Monuments built not for the living, but for eternity. The pyramids, massive limestone blocks stacked with astonishing precision, rising toward the heavens. These were not just tombs. They were statements of power. How did they build such wonders? Without modern machines, without steel, without engines. Through organization, mathematics, and relentless labor, Egypt transformed stone into immortality. Precision defined their greatness. Beyond the pyramids, life thrived along the riverbanks. Farmers cultivated wheat and barley. Fishermen cast nets into calm waters. Children played in the shade of palm trees. Egypt was not built only by kings. It was built by its people. Religion was the foundation of Egyptian identity. They worshipped powerful deities, gods of the sun, the sky, the afterlife. Massive temples lined with towering columns honored these divine forces. To serve the gods was to serve order itself. To the Egyptians, death was not an end, it was a transition. Through mummification, the body was preserved so the soul could journey safely into the afterlife. Eternal life required preparation, and Egypt mastered it. Egypt also wrote its story. Hieroglyphs carved into temple walls told tales of gods, victories, and kings. Scribes recorded harvests, taxes, and sacred rituals. Knowledge was sacred, and it was preserved in stone. The pharaoh ruled absolutely, commander of armies, high priest of the gods, symbol of divine order. His image stood carved in colossal statues, unblinking, eternal. Power in Egypt was meant to last forever. Empires would conquer Egypt. Dynasties would rise and fall. But the pyramids still stand, the temples still whisper. The Nile still flows. Ancient Egypt built not just monuments, but immortality. While Egypt was raising pyramids, another civilization was rising quietly in the Indus River basin. Around 3300 BCE, early settlements began forming in what is now modern-day Pakistan and northwest India. By 2600 BCE, these settlements had transformed into something extraordinary. Cities, not scattered villages, not temple states, but fully planned urban centers. Harappa, Mohenjo-Daro, built with precision that would not be seen again for thousands of years. The Indus Valley civilization did something revolutionary. They built cities with drainage systems. Every home was connected to covered sewers. Wastewater flowed beneath the streets, hidden from sight. This was around 2500 BCE. At a time when much of the world still struggled with sanitation, these cities had public baths, wells, and standardized brick construction. Even the bricks followed precise ratios to 1 to 2 to 4. Order was not accidental. It was engineered.
This stone holds the wisdom of our ancestors. Feel the strength of the carving. It tells of protection and the prosperity, a treasure of our people.
Unlike Egypt or Mesopotamia, the Indus civilization left no clear evidence of powerful kings, no massive royal tombs, no giant statues of rulers. Instead, they left seals, small carved stones with animals and symbols, perhaps a writing system we still cannot fully decode. These seals have been found as far as Mesopotamia. That means trade. Long-distance commerce across thousands of kilometers. By 2000 BCE, Indus merchants were part of an international network connecting Central Asia, Persia, and the Near East. But their script remains undeciphered, their language unknown. A great civilization, still silent. Around 1900 BCE, something changed. Cities began to empty. Brick construction declined, trade networks weakened. Was it climate change? A shift in the Indus River's course? Drought? There is no single answer. By 1300 BCE, the great cities had been abandoned. No dramatic invasion. No burning layers of destruction. Just silence. The Indus Valley did not collapse in fire. It faded. And that mystery still haunts historians today. Around 2100 BCE, along the fertile banks of the Yellow River, known as the cradle of Chinese civilization, the first dynastic state, the Xia dynasty, began to emerge. Villages transformed into towns. Irrigation systems tamed the river's floods. Pottery, bronze tools, and early city walls appeared. The Yellow River gave life and danger. Floods could destroy or create. Civilization thrived only through organization, leadership, and ingenuity.
Dig, brothers! The walls must rise before the floods come! Pile it high! No rest until the ramparts stand! Turn! Ah!
Chinese tradition speaks of a man named Yu the Great. He did not stop the floods, he redirected them. Instead of building walls, he engineered channels, guiding water safely back into the river's path. This act, legend says, earned him the throne. Thus began the Xia dynasty, China's first hereditary kingship. Whether myth or memory, the message is clear. Power in China began with mastery over nature. By 2000 BCE, settlements were no longer isolated villages. They were political centers. Raised earth platforms supported palaces. Bronze tools appeared. Walls surrounded cities. Leadership became hereditary. Authority became structured. The Xia laid the blueprint: centralized rule, tribute systems, and social hierarchy. China's continuity begins here. Around 1600 BCE, the Shu fell. The Shang rose. Unlike the shadowy Xia, the Shang left evidence. Cities like Anyang revealed royal tombs, weapons, and written records. This was no longer legend. This was documented power.
The signs are aligning. The divination must be precise. Patience, brother. The spirits guide my hand. Look, the symbol of fire emerges. Yes, it heralds change. We must prepare.
In royal courts, questions were carved into turtle shells and ox bones. Will the harvest seed? Will the army win? Will the king's wife bear a son? The bones were heated until they cracked. The cracks were interpreted as messages from ancestors. This was the beginning of Chinese writing. The script carved then would evolve, but never disappear. The Shang did not rule peacefully. They expanded through war. Chariots thundered across plains. Armies marched with bronze weapons. Territory meant survival. Survival meant dominance. Military power strengthened central authority, but also planted seeds of rebellion. Around 1046 BCE, the Zhou challenged Shang rule. They claimed the Shang king had become corrupt, immoral, unworthy. The Zhou victory introduced a new idea, the mandate of heaven. Heaven grants the right to rule. Heaven can take it away. Political legitimacy became moral. This idea would shape China for millennia. By 771 BCE, early Zhou rule had reshaped northern China. But something remarkable had happened. Unlike Mesopotamia, unlike the Indus, China did not disappear. Its writing evolved. Its political philosophy deepened. Its culture adapted but endured. From the Yellow River rose one of the longest continuous civilizations in human history, and it was only the beginning. After the flourishing cities of the Yellow River, new civilizations were rising to the west. In the rugged lands of Anatolia, a people known as the Hittites were building one of the first great empires of the Bronze Age. Their story would intersect with the mighty civilizations of Mesopotamia and Egypt.
Warriors, the enemy besoms to work in stands. Yampiatsa we tabas! We know the fleeting!
By 1600 BCE, The Hittites had established their first major cities. Fortified walls surrounded monumental palaces, where kings and scribes maintained control. These urban centers became hubs of administration, trade, and religious life, laying the foundation for an empire. The Hittites were masters of bronze and later pioneers of ironworking. Their armies used chariots with bronze fittings, giving them an advantage in warfare. These technological advances helped them dominate Anatolia and secure trade routes across the region. The king was the center of Hittite power. From their palaces, rulers commanded armies, oversaw justice, and negotiated treaties. Scribes recorded every decree, ensuring the law was preserved, and the empire remained orderly despite its growing size.
Here is the artifact as promised. It appears genuine. You have done well. Then our alliance holds. It does. Farewell for now.
The Hittites are perhaps best known for their clash with Egypt at the Battle of Kadesh. After years of warfare, they forged what is considered the world's first recorded peace treaty. This diplomacy ensured stability and influenced future empires in the region. Trade connected Hittite cities with the Mediterranean and Mesopotamia. Silver, tin, and grain moved along established routes, while Hittite art and architecture influenced neighboring cultures. Even long after their fall, traces of Hittite innovation could be seen throughout the region. Religion guided everyday life. Temples honored gods of storms, sun, and sky. Farmers, artisans, and families lived in villages outside the cities, working the fertile lands and participating in rituals that connected the people to their deities. Hittite society was hierarchical but organized. Nobles and scribes supported the king, while artisans and farmers sustained the economy. Festivals, markets, and communal activities strengthened the bonds of the empire, creating a society that balanced power and daily life. By the late 12th century BCE, internal strife and invasions led to the collapse of the Hittite Empire. Cities were abandoned, palaces fell silent, yet their innovations in law, warfare, and diplomacy lived on, influencing empires that rose in the centuries after. After the Hittite Empire dominated Anatolia, across the Aegean Sea, a new power was rising. The Mycenaeans, warrior kings of the Bronze Age, built massive fortified palace cities and established the foundations of Greek civilization.
All the legs on your thoughts!
Warrior kings ruled from massive citadels, commanding armies and controlling trade routes. Their power rested on bronze weapons, chariots, and the loyalty of their warriors.
Hurry with those amphorae! The tide won't wait! We're on it! These baskets are heavy. Stack them tight against the hull! Careful with the oil jars! Don't drop them!
Mycenaeans traded across the Mediterranean, reaching Crete, Cyprus, and the Levant. Ships carried bronze, pottery, and luxury goods, spreading culture and influence far beyond the Aegean. Palaces were decorated with frescoes showing hunting, warfare, and ceremonial life. These artworks reveal a society that valued both power and beauty, leaving a legacy for later Greek culture.
Great gods of the temple, accept these sacred offerings from your humble servants. Let the smoke rise to the heavens as a sign of our devotion.
Religion was central. Kings performed rituals honoring gods and ancestors, often using elaborate bronze and clay offerings. Temples and shrines were built within palace complexes. Mycenaean cities were heavily fortified. Massive cyclopean walls protected palaces and citizens from invaders, showcasing both engineering skill and the constant threat of war.
Charge for victory and glory! Break their lines! Push forward!
Warriors fought with bronze swords, spears, and chariots. Battles with neighboring city-states shaped politics and inspired legends that would survive in epic poetry. Mycenaeans used linear B, a type of syllabic script, to keep records of trade, taxes, and palace inventories, giving us a rare glimpse into the administration of their society.
Behold, the strength of our empire endures. Our people thrive under its shadow. Now, I descend to lead them.
Stories from the Mycenaean era inspired later Greek mythology. Tales of the Trojan War, heroic kings, and epic battles echo the values and history of this civilization. Around 1100 BCE, Mycenaean civilization collapsed during the Bronze Age collapse. Palaces were abandoned, trade networks vanished, and cities fell into ruin. Yet their myths, art, and culture would endure, forming the roots of classical Greece centuries later.